Guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So we're back with another recent reads, and this time I have a lot of good news because I have quite a few 4-star reads, and I also have a 5-star read, which is actually one of my favorite books of this year. So I'm really excited to talk about that. Before I jump into the books pertaining to this video, I do want to go ahead and mention that I did a video recently where I read Amazon Original Stories Creature Feature. They are 6 short stories written by some really popular authors. They're horror stories. They all involve some sort of creature. And so I did a video specifically talking about those short stories. So instead of me talking about those short stories again here, I am going to just tell you guys what stories were included in that collection, my rating, and then I'm going to direct you guys to that video if you guys are interested. So the first short story that I read as a part of that collection is The Pram by Joe Hill. I gave that one 4 stars. Then I read Ankle Snatcher by Grady Hendrix. I also gave that one 4 stars. Then we have It Walks in the Woods by Josh Mallerman. I gave that one 3 stars. Then we have In Bloom by Paul Tremblay. I unfortunately gave that one 2 stars. Then we have Best of Luck by Jason Mott. I rated that one 5 stars. Absolutely love that story from start to finish. Highly recommend. And then the last story that is a part of that collection is The Big Bad by Chandler Baker. I gave that one 4 stars. Again, if you guys want to hear my in-depth thoughts about those stories, I suggest you guys go check out that video, which I will have linked down below. So jumping right into this, we are going to start with my lowest rated and work my way all the way up to my highest rated. And so unfortunately, I do have one DNF. That is Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda. This is a adult thriller, and I did not get far. Actually, I did get far. I got to chapter 15, 159 pages. I really tried to stick it out. So in this one, we're following our main character, Hazel. She goes back to her hometown in North Carolina called Mirror Lake because her father has passed away. And so in this town, they are currently going through a drought. Because of the drought, the water in the lake has been receding, and they have found 2 cars in the lake. So we learn eventually that Hazel's mother disappeared, like ran off from the family when she was like 14 years old, and no one has seen or heard from her since. And Hazel realizes that one of the cars that was found in the lake actually belongs to her mother. So there's like a mystery in regards to what happened to Hazel's mother and why the car was in the lake. This was extremely slow. I was not really connecting with any of the characters. Like, we are following the story primarily from Hazel's POV, but it was really slow. And I don't even know why this is considered a thriller because nothing was fast-paced about it. I was growing really bored. Anytime I put this down, I did try to listen to this on audio, but anytime I put it down, I never really wanted to pick it back up or start listening to it again. And something weird, or something that I found weird about this story, is that I mentioned there was a drought, and at the beginning of every chapter or every other chapter, they keep talking about, like, at the beginning of chapter 15, it says 69 days without rain, and it keeps counting it down or counting it up, like 69 days before it was like 68 days, whatever. So I just did not understand why they kept mentioning this drought, because none of the other characters actually mentioned the drought. Nobody was talking about how they were struggling because it wasn't raining or anything like that. So I don't really understand the purpose of the drought besides us knowing there's a drought, because that's how they found the cars. I feel like they could have just found the cars anyway. Whatever the case may be, I just did not enjoy this, which is sad because I really wanted to get into Megan Miranda because I have 2 other books by her that I have not read, and it seems like this author is such a hit or miss with people. So it makes me really nervous to see how I'm going to feel about those other books. So like I said, DNF. So next up, we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. So this is a adult mystery. So in this one, we are following our main character, Ethan. And when Ethan was like 10 years old, him and his best friend Billy were camping out in Ethan's backyard. Everything was going fine until the next morning. Ethan realizes that someone has like slashed the tent and Billy has gone missing. All these years later, and it's been a lot of years later, Ethan is still torn up about this whole situation with Billy. And so he moves back home to his parents' house because his parents have like moved to Florida to live their life, I guess. And Ethan is now living in their house. And because he's back in the place where Billy disappeared, he is now trying to figure out exactly what happened to Billy. I gave this one 2 stars. This was on my most anticipated reads for this year, just like Riley Sager's books are always on that list every year. And I was really excited about this one because we're finally getting the story told from a male POV. I didn't like it. This was like extremely slow for me. I was actually really exhausted by how much Ethan was talking about the disappearance of Billy and how that has really torn him up. Like, okay, I get it. At a certain point, I was really tired from getting his like inner thoughts about how he feels. I don't know. I didn't really connect with Ethan as a character. I also didn't really like all of the red herrings that we got in this one. Riley Sager was really trying to really throw you off the track in regards to what happened with Billy. And when we finally figured it out, I was extremely underwhelmed. I was just like, what? Seriously? Like, that's what we came up with? There was points in here where we got some like paranormal bits, and honestly, I wish we would have leaned way more into that instead of what we actually got. Now, this is another book that I feel is really hit or miss with people. And unfortunately, this one I would have to say is probably my least favorite by this author. The only reason why I continued on with this because I had wanted to DNF it at several points. But I decided to continue on because there was the introduction of this little boy named Henry. And I loved his interaction with Ethan and like their banter back and forth. Like, I really loved that. But everything else, I literally did not care about. As soon as I finished reading this, a lot of the details of the story has literally left my mind, and I just did not enjoy this one. So the next 2-star read, and the only other 2-star read that I have to talk about, is Someone in the Attic by Andrea Mara. So this is a adult mystery thriller. I actually listened to this one audio. And so the very beginning of it, we find out that this woman named Anya was killed by someone who crawled out of her attic. Then we fast forward a little bit and we are following this family. We're primarily following the mother, Julia. And so one day, Julia's like 13-year-old daughter comes to her and says, "Hey, mom, there's a video circulating on TikTok of our house." And so Julia looks at a video. She says, "Yeah, that looks like our house." And then from there, like a few more videos start circulating on TikTok, and that's when Julia starts to get concerned, and she's trying to figure out who is videotaping in her house and are these videos even real. I did not really care for this. I didn't necessarily hate it, but I also didn't love it either. So what really irritated me about this book was the characters. I did not like their lack of concern. I feel like if something like this was happening in real life, and if you were seeing videos of your house on TikTok, I think you would be a little bit more concerned. It literally took this woman like almost 5 videos for her to even like try and figure it out. It took them like 3 or 4 videos before someone got the bright idea to even go up into the attic to make sure there was no one there. I think I was just really annoyed by how unserious they were taking this situation. And then just like with Middle of the Night, this book used a lot of red herrings to try to throw you off and make you think one thing was happening when it was really something else. And another thing that I just did not like was the ending. It was very underwhelming, and I just don't like how with mystery thrillers, it just seems like we have this continued thing of people's motivations is a grudge. I'm kind of over it, and I'm just really wanting some different sort of resolution like at the end of these stories. So this one just did not work for me. I was really hoping that it would, because it had a really interesting premise, but unfortunately it just did not follow through for me. So then the only 3-star read that I have is An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. This is a adult fantasy, but there's like some gothic vibes, dark academia, there's a mystery. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this book. So in this one, we are following our main character, Lennon, and Lennon is kind of going through it. She is recently engaged to this man. During their engagement party, I believe, she finds out that he is cheating on her with one of his friends. And so she obviously is distraught. While she has taken off in this man's car, she gets this call saying that she is invited to do an interview to get into Drayton Academy. She's never heard of this before. She doesn't really know if she wants to go, but she doesn't really have any alternative because obviously she can't go back to her relationship. So she decides to go ahead and see if she can get into Drayton, and she does. So once she gets there, she learns that this school is teaching students the art of persuasion. They are using this to obviously persuade people and things to do whatever it is that they want them to do. So she is learning her skills. We're following her and some of the other students. And then there is a death that takes place at this academy. And so Lennon is kind of like thrust into the middle of that, especially after she learns that she has a really powerful gift. And so the story just kind of like takes off from there. This is my first book by Alexis Henderson. I actually have another one of her books, The Year of the Witching, which is funny enough, one of the books that I have wanted to read this year, but I decided to pick up this one instead because I'm a sucker for dark academia. I don't read it enough. So I was really excited for this. Unfortunately, I thought that the pacing was really slow in the first half. So like the first 200 pages. I understand that we have to like set up the school. We have to, you know, follow these students. We kind of have to learn what they're learning in terms of this ability that they're trying to perfect. And so I get all of that, but it was also still kind of slow. I never really was invested in the main character, Lennon. We're following the story through her POV, but I can never really connect with her in the way that I think that we're supposed to. And so I could never find myself trying to root for her by the end. But once we got to the 200 page mark, literally the 200 page mark, the pacing really picked up. And that is when we saw the death that occurred at the school. We started seeing people really using this ability that they have been learning for the first 200 pages. And so it was a lot of action and the story really picked up. And I actually kind of liked how this ended, sort of. But overall, I did think this was an interesting read. I think if you are somebody that enjoys dark academia, you should check this out. But just be forewarned that in my opinion, it moves really slow in the beginning, but at a certain point it does pick up and you're not going to want to be able to put it down. But overall, I did enjoy this. So moving on to my 4-star reads, with the first one being another Sherry Lapina book. This is The End of Her. This is a adult mystery thriller, and I had such a fun time with this one. So in this, we're following this married couple, Stephanie and Patrick, and they're kind of having a rough time because they have some new twins and they're really colicky, and so both of them are not getting a lot of sleep. Stephanie, poor thing, is like half delirious because she's not getting any sleep and she's like forgetting stuff. So they're just having a hard time with these twins. One day, Patrick goes to work and somebody from his past shows up. So Erica shows up at his job. We find out that Patrick was married before, and his previous wife, Lindsay, actually died. And so Erica knows a little something about that. She has decided that she is going to try to blackmail Patrick for money and tell people that he actually murdered Lindsay, his first wife. And if he doesn't give her the money that she's looking for, it's like almost $200,000. Then Erica has said that she's gonna go to the police and have them reinvestigate this case. Patrick doesn't want that to happen. And Patrick and Stephanie's life like spirals out of control because of this woman, Erica. This was so much fun. Well, it was fun for me. It wasn't fun for them. But I really enjoyed this one. Just like with all of Sherry Lapina's books, this just drops you right into these people's lives and all of the mess starts right away. You don't have to wait for chapters and chapters for something to happen. I promise you by like chapter 2, and these are short chapters, shit has already hit the fan, okay? I love just like how fast paced it was. I like the characters that we follow because Sherry Lapina is going to give you a whole bunch of characters to follow, which I actually enjoy because even though I find her books to be slightly predictable with the ends, because she has all these characters and because they're all interconnected in some way, it kind of makes you second guess whether or not where you think the story is going is actually where you think the story is going. And I really, really appreciate that. And with this one, I just really enjoyed the ending and how it kind of left you with some lingering questions. So I would have to say this is up there with one of my favorites from her and definitely one that I would recommend. So another 4-star read that I have is Run by Blake Crouch. This is a adult dystopian thriller. And I got this through NetGalley. I thought it was a new release. It is not a new release. So I guess what happened is this book came out like back in 2011, I think, and it's being re-released. So it was on NetGalley, and obviously I got approved for it, so I read it. And I will say, out of the 3 other books that I have read from Blake Crouch, this one is probably my favorite. So in this, right when the story starts, there is like an outbreak that happened. Whatever happened, it is causing people to go like mad, and they are wanting to go around killing people. They're really angry and they just start killing people. And so on the news, people's names are being like released on the news, their names and their addresses, and then people are going to those places trying to kill said person. And so this happened with our main family, blanket on their names. But so this main family, the father, his name is released on the news, and now he has to get himself, his wife, and their 2 kids out. And so they're literally on the run. And while they're on the run, they are trying to make it to Canada, I believe, which is where they have like a safe spot for people. And so they're trying to make it there, but along the way, they are being chased down and almost killed several times. And so we're just watching this family try to survive. I had a great time with this one. Again, I'm not sure. It feels weird to say I had a great time with somebody trying to run for their life, but I had a great time watching this family try to survive. It is very graphic. It is very gruesome. Blake Crouch does not hold back on the violence in this. And so if that is not your thing, I'm not sure that this one will work for you, but it worked for me. I really got connected to this family. I really was like, there were moments when I was just holding my breath because I was not sure whether or not these people were gonna make it. You know, we go through these sections throughout the book where they're getting separated, then back together, then separated. And so it was very, very action-packed. It was very fast-paced. The only thing that stopped me from giving this book 5 stars is that I wanted to know more about the virus or like this outbreak and whatever happened to these people. We do get some little explanations here or there, but anytime I'm reading about like an outbreak or something or about a virus, a pandemic, I like to know the backstory of that. I like to know how it happened, how it spread. I like to know all of that. And this one, you're left with some questions and you just kind of have to go with it because like I said, you're just kind of thrown in. Other than that, I really like this one. I think if you are a fan of Blake Crouch, go ahead and pick it up. Maybe you already have because it was out. It's been out for years. So it's just new to me. But if you have not checked it out and dystopians are something that you enjoy, I would highly suggest you pick up Run. Then I have Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. This is a adult mystery thriller, and this is my first book by this author. He has written a lot of books, and I do have another one of his books, 13, which I think is another one of his more popular books. And after reading this, I cannot wait to pick up that other book by him. So there are a couple of things that is happening in this book. So first up, we're following these two characters, Amanda and Wendy, and they have both experienced like some trauma in their life. And so they have been going to this support group. They meet each other in this support group, and they learn that because of the trauma that they have went through, basically somebody has killed one of their loved ones. And so they come up with this plan that they will kill for the other person. So then we follow this other woman. I think her name is Ruth. Yes. So then we follow this other lady, Ruth. And Ruth was chilling at home one night. Her husband went out to hang out with friends. And then this guy comes in and attacks her, like brutally attacks her. And so we're following both of these like situations, the situation with Amanda and Wendy, and then with Ruth. And we're trying to figure out basically how all of these characters like tie together, and whether or not Amanda and Wendy carry out their little plan that they have cocked up together. Really enjoyed this one. In the beginning, this was a little bit slower for me. While I was listening to this, I kept thinking like, where is this going? Like, what are these characters doing? Like, how are they tied together? The storyline with Amanda and Wendy, I did feel like some of that was a little bit predictable, and I could kind of tell where it was going. However, I was not expecting this story to go where it went, and I was not expecting everybody to be involved how they were involved. So this really did surprise me by the end, and I really enjoyed this. I just enjoyed following everybody. It was really fast paced at a certain point. Once you got maybe like halfway, once all the pieces started coming together, then this book really picked up, and I really enjoyed it. I have seen a lot of people enjoy this one, so I was a little hesitant going into it because I was like, well, usually when everybody else enjoys it, I don't really enjoy it. But I did enjoy this one, and I can't wait to read something else from him. So then I have The Dead Cattail Assassins by P. Djeli Clark. This was on my most anticipated reads for this year. Did not disappoint. This is my last 4-star read that I'm going to talk about. And in this one, oh, this is an adult fantasy, but in this one, we are following our main character, Evine, and she is part of the Dead Cattail Assassins Guild. And so she basically works off of like contracts. Someone comes, an anonymous person makes this contract that they want to have somebody killed, then she gets it, and then she takes care of that situation. And so in this one, she gets this particular contract where she is supposed to go and kill this young girl. But when she gets to her, she realizes that this person that she's supposed to kill looks like a younger version of Evine. And so Evine has to try to figure out what is going on and what she should do. This was, for it to be a really short book, a lot happened. It felt like a complete story. I really liked Evine. I liked the character that she was supposed to kill. I liked their banter back and forth. There was a lot of action. There was a lot of killing. There was a lot of humorous moments in here that I really enjoyed. I just had a fun time with this one. I felt like the entire time I was reading this, I kind of had like a smile on my face because I enjoyed it so much. And so this is the second book that I have read from P. Djeli Clark. The first one I read was his more popular book, Ring Shout, which I also rated that one 4 stars. And so I'm just excited to jump into more of his work. So then the last book that I have here in my 5-star read is The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak. And I obviously really enjoyed this one. So in this, We are following this father, Frank, and out of the blue, he gets this call from his daughter, Maggie, who he hasn't spoken to in 3 years. And she tells him that she is about to marry this man, Aiden, and she would like her father, Frank, to attend the wedding at Aiden's parents' resort campsite thing. Really extravagant. So she invites Frank to go. Frank hesitantly decides to go, but he doesn't have a good feeling about this. And he learns that Aiden comes from a really wealthy family. And he learns really soon that this family is a little shady. And so we're watching Frank attend this wedding as some shady stuff goes down. I had a great time with this. Anytime somebody pitches a story to me that deals with wealthy people and their messy drama, I am here for it. I really liked the character of Frank. I listened to this on audio. I would highly suggest listening to this on audio because I really enjoyed how the narrator was able to express how frantic Frank was, how paranoid he was every time he found out a new piece of information about Aiden and his family, and just how every time he found out something new, he would just go off of the deep end. We eventually learn, I didn't mention this before, but we eventually learn that somebody had died on this property, and Frank is just set on this family having something to do with it. And so I just liked how secrets were slowly being revealed. Some of them I could definitely predict, and some of them I could not. We also have a lot of interaction with Frank and this little adopted girl that his sister decided to bring to the wedding with them. And Frank is not happy about it. He does not like this little girl. This little girl does not really realize that Frank is not feeling her. And so she is always trying to tag along with him. And so he's always arguing with this little girl. It's really funny. And I think that it brought a little bit of humor to the story. But it also just showed how even though Frank was frantic this whole time at this wedding, he is a really caring father. And there are going to be a lot of characters that you don't like in here. There's one particular character I'm not going to name who I could not stand through this book. And I just like how everything wrapped up. I thought how everything was revealed was great. I don't know. I just really liked the vibe of this book. I feel like I'm one of the only people that has given this one 5 stars. A lot of other people have just liked it. I've seen a lot of 3-star reviews, and that's fine. But something about this really resonated with me. And I think it's just because I liked the character of Frank. And I feel like if you really, really liked Hidden Pictures, the first book by this author, or one of their more popular books by this author, then I'm not sure you would probably like this one as much as Hidden Pictures. I thought Hidden Pictures was fine, but this one I definitely really enjoyed. If you like to read about rich people problems, then this is definitely going to be the book for you. But I really had a good time with this. This is also one, like I said, I would highly recommend to listen to on audio. I just kind of feel like you really feel Frank's stress come through in the audiobook, which really added to the experience of this book overall. I really, really enjoyed this. It is a book that I randomly think about. Certain scenes that I randomly think about. This is a book that I would highly recommend. 5 stars. So that is all that I have for you guys. If you have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts down below. But I will see you guys next time. Bye.